Hello and welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about something that we as the divine feminines a lot of times struggle to find compassion within us for when it comes to the decisions that our divine masculine makes, right? So the choices that they make and the decisions that they make. And that is, from a higher point of view, the only reason, it is. The only reason for that is really just our soul wanted to experience certain things, but from both sides of the scale, so from very opposite perspective. And it is, of course, to, let's say, maximize the learning and the ascension and healing and just gaining soul mastery. And so a lot of times I say we because I am also a divine feminine. We divine feminines kind of struggle understanding, and because of that, kind of finding compassion for the things that we see, or we know that our divine masculine is doing. And this is something that I wanted to kind of explain because I found it very helpful, and I do believe that it's going to be helpful for anybody that is aligned with this message. So basically, it has to do with the divine masculine's beliefs when it comes to relationships, sex, and intimacy. The divine masculine, while embarking on this twin soul journey, so when this soul splits into two, the divine masculine polarity incarnates, and he will carry much more, let's say, different karmic patterns. And so he will choose to experience a lot more, both heavy experiences, but also just a lot more karmic imprints. So basically much more, you can say that. So basically much more things to heal than the divine feminine, right? I'm not going to get more into that right now. I just wanted to kind of say this. And so the masculine's belief when it comes to relationships, and here I mean, of course, romantic relationships and intimacy and sex, basically what they are told and taught, either directly or indirectly through their environment, through seeing other people doing this, was that for a masculine, what was important was to basically perform and provide, and that also included mastering conquest, like, let's say, romantic conquests, and every sexual technique available and possible, basically. So when you kind of think of it, this a lot of times, no, I'm going to finish the thought that I had because it's going to make sense more. So basically, because the masculine believes that intimacy in romantic relationships is him performing sexually, not only, of course, but let's just say that, because this is kind of what intimacy is to him. He has been emotionally neglected, and basically has his emotional body and his heart was basically forgotten and rejected, and so he learned to live this way. And so intimacy to a masculine is very different than it is for a feminine, and that is because of, well, their own journey, right? So to him, to a masculine, sex and intimacy in relationships is sex, is skin on skin, and it is seen basically as manual labor. And bear with me, because there will be people that will, of course, disagree with that, but just bear with me when I'm trying to explain it. So because the masculine is taught to repress his emotions and any kind of intuition or bodily signs of whether the current connection that they're in, or the current person that they're in front of, let's say, is the right person for them or not. They were taught to basically ignore all of those like intuitive nudges and intuition. They were taught that, heart racing and sweaty palms and feeling their stomach kind of dropping to the floor, that this is chemistry, as in this is positive chemistry, because they're being taught that, because your body reacts this way, then this person must be important. Yes, this person is very important, but it's basically a warning system within your body telling you that this person is wrong for you. But this is something that they're not taught. This is also something that the feminines are not taught, right? So we all kind of believe that this is what attraction feels like, this is what love feels like, infatuation and so on. But because there is this competition culture a lot of times between the masculines, and it doesn't need to be like that there are two masculines competing for a feminine. And here I am talking energy wise, not what your human body has for sex. That I'm not talking about this. Speaking about energies. It's basically, even if it's, let's say, two brothers or a father and a son or two best friends, right, that are masculines, there is this undercurrent of a very competitive energy, and it's always going to be who earns more money, who has more friends, who has better family situation, who has slept with more feminines, who has or had more sexual partners, how well they perform in bed. And because that is a part of this competitive like undercurrent that is always present within the masculine's life, so sex becomes basically like one of those things that they just have to do. As in, yes, it's very pleasurable, of course, and there is a rush of dopamine and all of these things, but it's basically another way for a masculine to perform and to give, as they are taught to do, right? So basically they grow up with being told that, this is what a man should do, this is what like a good man will do, or you're a man, you should not be swayed by your emotions, you need to be very logical, and you need to kind of forget your desires because you need to sacrifice for your partner, your family, your workplace. You need to basically kill yourself working 3 different jobs to provide for a family, because if you're not doing it, what kind of man you are? This is just like basic kind of thing that most masculines go through. And because of that, to them, yes, sex is intimacy, because yes, let's say from a certain perspective it is, but to them, because they do not know better, sex and conquest, as in sexual or romantic conquest, so basically them chasing the other sex, is very much, well, sometimes people will say it's like a sport. It's not like a sport. It's something that they believe they have to do in order to be accepted as a, let's say, normal person, as a part of society, because this is what they see other masculines do. So they grow up believing that, oh, I have to do that. I have to run after the other sex. I have to get as many conquests as possible, sexual, let's say emotional, right? I have to have a big group of friends. I need to be liked. I need to be loved. I need to be needed. And it's everything that masculine does, or let's say basically everything, let's just say, is fueled by that need of validation and being chosen, because of their emotional neglect as children. So yes, it is basically sex to masculines is not a way to, like, for them to deepen a connection that they share with the person. It's not a way for them to connect, to be closer, or to bring themselves closer to the other person. It is basically, I have to perform, I have to be very good at sex, I have to know and be very proficient at all the sexual techniques, I need to know a lot about human bodies and how they work, how to provide pleasure. And the more they chase that, because they do, the more empty they feel, because the, let's say, rush of dopamine or whatever that is, that we people get, right? So whatever, like the chase and then the conquest, when they find a sexual partner, that gives them a certain pleasure, right? And yes, it is superficial, but it gives them a certain pleasure, which they believe is, let's say, fulfillment. This is happiness. This is the good part of life, right? But what happens is that after sex, after, I don't know, speaking to their conquest, right? Whether it's like an online thing, maybe it's just them having a lot of partners, right? Or even if they just have one partner, it doesn't really matter. For them, it's a performance. They will get a certain rush, but that rush will leave them feeling very empty, because it is only superficial. Because once that intensity, that, let's say, we people a lot of times call lust or high or whatever, once that dissipates, and it dissipates very, very fast, for a lot of men it actually dissipates once they have their conquest, let's just say, in their bed, they kind of have to remember to put the mask of being like this super proficient, top grade masculine who knows what to do, and they have to kind of do these things, and, you know, it may even become kind of like a checkpoint, like a list of checkpoints that they kind of like click on, and then once the sex is done, they feel empty, because that activity, okay, spirit, sure, let's go with that. So that activity, as the spirit tells me, but yes, once it's done, like there's a certain high to it, yes, but once it's done, because it like does not fulfill the masculine, because it's all fake, yes, the human body may feel a certain level of pleasure, but that pleasure leaves them very empty. And it also leaves feminines very empty, but that's another video. So basically, so many, because of that reason, because of that need to perform, because of that need of always wearing the mask that they have been taught, and they believe that they have to always wear that mask. They see sex and physical intimacy and or being a Casanova, right? Let me just say the masculine is a he, just so that it's easier for me to explain. So basically, for a masculine, being a womanizer and a flirt, and being, let's say, very sexually open, maybe polyamorous. Oh, I cannot pronounce that properly. I do apologize. It is like the thing to be for them. It's like a sense of pride, because this is what they have been taught, that this is what it means to be a man. Like, this is a point of pride, but it's no different than like them striving to get a better car next time, or to buy a bigger house, or to get better clothes, because there's this sense of competition that I have to, first of all, be a little bit better than different men, because I need to be chosen by women. Because there's that inner child that has never been chosen, that have never been seen by the caregivers, and that is a very huge motivation for a masculine later on as an adult, right? And so for them, the more conquests they, let's say, get or earn, I don't even know how to explain that, it is more, they believe that for them it's more validation. It is more people that choose them for their performance, but it's still just what they give and not for who they are. That's why they a lot of time feel empty, and it becomes like a very, very vicious cycle. And this is something that for us feminines is, you know, for us standing from the side and kind of seeing our masculine going through that, it is, first of all, we kind of don't understand it, because we see right through that pattern. We see the truth of the situation. And at times, especially if you're listening to it, so you're lying to it, you are on a, let's say, on a certain level spiritually, you're so spiritually mature that you understand and see the patterns that your masculine and others really are exhibiting, and you do understand that it is there for these people to basically overcome, right, and free themselves from. So it's not that you look down on them ever, even if at times the things that the masculine does are absolutely outrageous and they're disgusting. The whatever, like, if there's, just a side note, if you're a feminine, if you ever feel disgusted, it's a lot of time not the disgust that, oh, your divine masculine is doing this. It's basically just the disdain for the thing itself, because you do see the bigger picture. You understand that, wow, this is a person that as a child has been so neglected and grew up in a place where this is the only way that they have been taught, that this is all that they are worth. They're not worth for who they are, for their dreams, for who they are as a person, for their heart, just that they're good and accepted for what they are and who they are as people. They are taught that they have to perform in such a disgusting way a lot of times in order to be accepted into society that actually disdains that behavior too, but it is a lot of time not most often not talked to right to them and right in front of them, but that's a different story. So, but the thing is, as a divine feminine, what I was trying to say is that a lot of times, because we see through it, it's also kind of, it's easy to sit on that high horse and look down, I'm saying this in quotation marks, seeing our masculines do these things and kind of be like, oh, why is he still doing this? Or why are they still doing this? This is so stupid. I see that it's just a vicious cycle, that whatever decisions they're making, it just leaves them more empty, and then they make the same decision. It's just like a repeating of a cycle. Yes, it is, but it is there for them to overcome that, because this is what actually your soul chose to experience. You are on that other side of scale where you see the pattern, you see, let's say, through that societal pattern, right, as ancestral karma and patterns and so on. But the other part of you, so the other half of you is right in the midst of it, and they have to go through it, and then they have to kind of break free from it. They have to wake up, they have to see it for themselves. And I wanted to make this video because the thing is, and this is something that I'm going to continue preaching because it's so important, the divine masculine is not oblivious to the things happening around them. They are just as intelligent and just as bright and wise as you are. However, they have chosen the path, so they're the one having to experience being in the middle of these patterns and very toxic belief systems and so on and so forth. Yes, in order to experience them, but while they are in the middle of it, they see the pattern, they have the notion that, oh, this is like very toxic, but because they're in the middle of it and they're meant to kind of break free from it, they feel also very stuck. There's a lot of belief of obligation. There's a certain image that they believe they have to uphold, because otherwise they will basically be rejected from the society, as they have been rejected as children from their own childhood home, because when they were little, they were basically who they embodied their true self. It's only later on that they had to kind of adapt different masks and wear them depending on the environment that they're in. But what we feminists also don't understand, or let's say, it's not maybe not understand, I will say, okay, I'm going to say this. So basically, for us feminists, we do not understand how can our divine masculine, knowing very well who we as their own divine feminine are to them, right? They feel the love, they feel the attraction, but then there they are, and they are chasing others. They are basically losing themselves in other relationships, connections, situations. And it is very difficult for us to understand why would they sleep with other people, whether it's their karmic partner, whether it's like some sort of conquest, online dating, online sexting, watching porn, just chasing women and being flirtatious. It is because for them, sex is very much just another part of life that kind of lands in the same category as basically their career and kind of what they're portrayed to the world. It has nothing to do with like actual intimacy that is like soul bare intimacy, and they do not use or see physical intimacy, so sex, as a way to connect to the other partner. It's a way of performing, getting some pleasure out of it, giving some pleasure for the other person, but it's very transactional. Like, it's just like, hey, let me give you some pleasure, let me get some pleasure from you, and then we're on our way again, basically, right? It doesn't really matter if they're married, if they have 50 girlfriends, it doesn't really matter. It's basically just one of those things that they kind of compete with when it comes to other masculines, even if they don't consciously actively compete with somebody else. Let's say they maybe have a friend in quotation marks that, I don't know, earns more money, right? And they cannot earn more money, so they kind of compete in a different way by, I don't know, having a better family life or more kids or, whatever. But it's very much like, I cannot find a correct word, but basically it's something that they use to measure who they are as a person, falsely believing that this is what gives them worth. Basically, they measure their own worth through sex, through being womanizers and Casanovas, however you wish to call that, through pretending that they have a picture perfect life and like these family life that is picture perfect, these friend circles, social circles, because it doesn't really matter what it is, career and so on. They are taught that their sense of worth, basically, if they're a worthy or good human, it's only if they have all these things, even if they perform and do these things. Not that they're good the way they are. It's like, oh, I have to perform. I have to be very good in sex. I have to have a lot of sexual partners. I have to be very proficient. I have to be very good at this. And then, comes the career, the family life, the friends, the whatever the fuck else. And something... So, okay, I see that the recording is already 26 minutes. So maybe I'll do the part 2. But this is really something that the feminine then sees, that as an adult, her divine masculine kind of continues exhibiting these things. And it's not just about sex. Now I'm talking about sex, but it just, sex is another part of all of those things that the masculine does, despite you and them meeting. So basically the soul being activated, right? So you meeting your twin. And even though they have awakened, even though they feel the pull, the sacred connection, they feel the telepathy, the love, they cannot explain how much they want you, basically, but they still then kind of continue living the same life that they did before. And it a lot of times is very difficult for us feminines to understand why would they do that. And this is actually what I'm gonna do in part 2. I'm gonna record a part 2. I now have a Patreon, so this is going to be, part 2 will be on my Patreon. You're very welcome to take a look. This video is going to be completely free, but I want you guys to follow me there too. And if you're not guided to, then that's all right. I will talk to you another time. Bye.